everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I am sharing a card that features papers from Cardstock Warehouse, and I'm using some dies from Syberia Designs. So this will be a very fun spring themed card that is perfect for a birthday or just any general occasion. I used the Chartreuse to cut out my leaves, and then I cut out all the petals for the flowers from each of those colors. So I have the flower petals in Blossom, in Bubblegum, in Sunflower, as well as in the Lavender papers. So here is a visual representation of how things coordinate. I also use the bubblegum for the bow that is a part of this die set, which is the Whimsy Blooms Bouquet from Syberia. But once I have everything die cut, I do grab some distress oxides. So I have here sponge sugar, picked raspberry, lucky clover, milled lavender, mustard seed, as well as twisted citron. Although I grab all of these colors, I do not use them all. I go with the twisted citron, the mustard seed, the milled lavender, and the picked raspberry only. So I don't use the lucky clover or the spun sugar. And I add color to the cardstock that it corresponds to. So here I'm using that lavender cardstock, and I am adding in some milled lavender. And I am going to blend more color onto these. I just want there to be some depth and dimension on these flowers. So I do the milled lavender first, and then I grab my next cardstock and I add the mustard seed. So that is to that sunflower cardstock. So this was my first time putting together this die set. I am not one that makes a tester card. I pretty much go all in the first time I make it, and I embrace the mistakes. So as I was going through this process, I realized I should probably figure out how these things layer onto one another and if I like how they place. So you can kind of see a crease on that middle, the larger pink petal. And that's because I laid the piece that I wanted to layer onto it on top of it, and then I blended it so that the ink laid or blended was blended in the appropriate area. So then as I continued on, I just kind of grabbed all the petals and went to work. And then I strayed away from my wanting there to be only that one color on the petal, and I mixed things a bit. It was an happy accident when the mustard seed went onto my pink cardstock, and I love how things looked. So I got a nice blend using minimal colors because this is not orange. That is the picked raspberry going onto that yellow cardstock. So if you do have minimal supplies, think of different ways that you can stretch them. And this is one that I like to do. I use minimal colors to create a rainbow. All right, so now it's time to layer things up. And the lavender cardstock is the stem for these flowers. And in some of the places, especially on those smaller areas, the milled lavender doesn't stand out as much as I would like, or at least the contrast between the two. So just keep that in mind if you do use the stamp set. Also, it's smart to figure out your placement and how you want the petals to lay. I think I did stray a bit from the layering guide on the die set packaging, but I went in with both wet glue and foam dots to put things into place. And this is how things are looking. Moving right along, I grabbed this Fluttering Hearts cover plate from Honeybee, and I die cut that into some bright white cardstock. I also go ahead and cut the For You sentiment. So my backer is white, and then the For You is done in bubblegum, and this is going to be the sentiment for my card. Once I have those die cut, and assembled, I move on to actually assembling my florals. I did cut quite a bit of extra greenery because I tend to use a lot when I am making these floral type cards. I love how the green contrasts against the flowers. That's just my thing. So I am going to first kind of lay things out, and then I put things in place using both the wet adhesive as well as the foam dots. The only thing I knew for certain was that I wanted to form a bit of a bouquet, because not only is that the name of the die set, but there is that cute little bow, and I wanted it to have a gathering point where I place it. So that was the goal when I was adding things on. But this process did get a little tedious just because some of those small flower buds were like the exact size, if not smaller than my foam. And once my foam was in place, honey, it was not moving. So once I have my little bouquet kind of gathered, I add on my bow, and then I go in with my sentiment and add that on as well. I didn't mention before, but when I did assemble the cover plate, I matted that on top of another A2 size piece of cardstock, and I popped that up. So there is that dimension there. So this card is full of dimension, but I love all the contrast of colors and the ink blending. You would never know that orangish yellow flower was just some yellow sunflower cardstock. All right, so here is another look at my completed card. I love this card so much, but I hope you do as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to head over to my blog, as well as the Cardstock Warehouse blog, where you can find a full list of all the papers and products that I use. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.